Previously, the group wandered the night market. Kes and Nova made unwise choices regarding food, but both of them managed to eat some very, very, very spicy kebabs without dying, which was possibly on the table based on the waivers they had to sign first. A tabaxi named Pebble was selling a variety of scrolls and magical knickknacks. Bertrand asked if he had anything weird in stock, and he brought out a lantern that had an odd shimmer to it. It emitted light like a lantern should, but he explained that there was a spirit inside that essentially worked as a mage hand. Isaac asked if he could cast Identify on it, and Pebble agreed. When Isaac cast the spell on it, he realized that it was actually significantly more than that. Pebble was underselling it, not that he was aware of that fact. Not only did it work as mage hand, but if the person attuned to it fell unconscious, then they would be stabilized. The group discussed it, and they agreed to buy it. Since Pebble clearly had no idea just what he had, Bertrand was able to haggle him down to 500 gold even for it, which was a great deal considering it was worth about 600 gold. Bertrand handed the lantern to Kes, who eagerly told the spirit in the lantern that they were going to love Orcus the doll. Admittedly, Kes had no idea just where Orcus was, but whenever they showed back up, the lantern spirit would love them. The group headed back to the burrow they were staying in and made their way to a tavern that Bertrand had heard of before. They made their way inside, where a well-dressed halfling man was behind the bar. When the group told him who they were, he told them that the palace had informed him that their tab was covered if they showed up. A few of the group settled in to eavesdrop, but Adria was the only one who picked up on everything going on around them. There were discussions about Hanny Rain and how she'd completely failed to seduce Fran yet again. Also, her most recent conquest was a fairly middling guard, which struck a lot of people as unusual. There was talk of a rumor going around that Cassette Storm was trying to create a new type of magic. There was speculation whether or not Captain Midnight, the head of the Emperor's Guard, would be retiring anytime soon. She'd been in that role for 15 years, which was quite a while for the position, especially for a human. There was then a comment that emperors never lived a full lifespan before the conversation then shifted to significantly safer topics. Adria overheard a very quiet conversation about Landis the Hungry Meteorite. They were speculating what he was planning, and while the word coup was never spoken, it was very much hanging in the air. Eventually, the group finished their meal and headed out of the tavern to go back to their guest house. Back at the guest house, the group headed into Nova's cottage, where Adria promptly told them that she'd overheard something concerning back at the tavern. Adria told them what she'd overheard about Landis, including the fact that another one of his maids had recently gone missing, a tabaxi. She was almost certain that he was involved with the hunt. He was also apparently very bigoted against anyone who wasn't an elf. Bertrand suggested that he could impersonate Landis and try to get him in trouble. Kes pointed out that Bertrand had the gold lines even when he shifted now, which Bertrand had forgotten about. The group discussed what to do. They decided to let the Emperor know what they'd found out, but they didn't have much in the way of actual proof considering they were just rumors. That led to them bad-mouthing the name the Hungry Meteorite for a while. They all agreed that the next few days were going to be a lot. And that is where we left off.